Hello guys and welcome back to a new week's episode. It should be episode 19 if I'm not wrong, but I probably am. And last time we had a really big event happening, the collapse of the military horde and the 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 Italian Civil War. Yeah, but the Italian Civil War is kind of sidelined. But one important thing is that the Navy country in um, the Great Military Horde. So we will look into that later because now we firstly look at the new stats where you see that the Great Military Horde is not on anymore, obviously, but we can see Persia's now no longer 15, but Arabia now takes the spots because, to be honest, on their map, they are actually way stronger. There were only not 15 in the old stats because of because the Arabian country didn't really have a government right now. One other thing we see is that Germany has now the third strongest military in the world and almost has double the population of India right now, which is absolutely crazy. But you can see that in India and South India, the population is slowly growing back, and South India started to um, industrialize. Of course, the Industrial Revolution hasn't won, but still, um, it's just about the economy, the industry. So, yeah, India doesn't really have an economy, but we also can see that uh, because the normal Indian country doesn't industrialize or uh, prioritize the economy, they can stabilize faster, and both actually are uh, have relatively good tech now, and you can see they also invested into the navy, but they both started to um, disarm a bit. No, not really disarm, but they're not expanding the military anymore. They're just holding on to what they have right now. But one big mistake that is in the old sets and in many other old sets is that the Mozambique Empire is not in there because it's fucking huge and it wouldn't make sense if they wouldn't be on here. Like, as you can see, sixth strongest industry, really stable country, fifth biggest tech, uh, really good population, second biggest navy, which uh, isn't necessarily a threat to Crimea, but shows that Crimea is actually not that strong, and the seventh strongest army, even though they don't even border a country, which is actually pretty funny. But you need to keep in mind it's a monarchy, so it's probably the royal guard oppressing all the people. There you can see the reason why Mozambique actually should be on there. And yeah, the first thing is the peace deal. So yeah, and here we can see the peace deal. I'll explain this a bit later, but first of all, the blue country doesn't have its own capital because it would be this city right here, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, let's see what happens between these two countries. We see the pink team annexing their culture and religion land. And we now actually see what the religious country gave up for their survival. Or did I say it in the last episode? I don't know. But these two parts are given to the Navy country, expanding the Navy country's influence even further. Like, if you're at war with Germany, you're fucked. but if you're at war with the Navy country, your economy is fucked. So one of these two things will happen if you went to one of, yeah. So that's basically how these two countries, so the Navy country and Germany, actually have the same influence, um, if you consider a nation at war with them. So, and then Italy took a bit, borders a bit weird, but yeah, Italy took only a bit, only this major city because um, they are in a civil war, obviously, or war. Um, they were not the same nation, so it's not really a civil war. Um, and they even only took something because it has the same culture. Not the same religion, but the same culture. So that's why they even took anything. If the culture would not be the same, Italy wouldn't have taken something. And now, uh, why does the Great Military Hall still exist? First of all, the Blue Country didn't want to bother to annex these lands because there were, of course, still soldiers fighting in these cities for the Great Military Horde. So they just didn't want to waste their resources on pacifying the cities. And they don't want their capital to be the old capital of the Great Military Horde. So they just don't need it. And the same thing for this city, it just resisted too much, so the blue government just didn't care. And one more good thing about letting the old military country live is to show that you have nothing to do with this country because you're not the country, as you can see right here. Like, nobody can say that the blue country is the successor of the Great Military Horde because the Great Military Horde still exists. So that's kind of how the political view is. So, and let's get straight back into the action because the Purple Country doesn't have a war anymore. They push back the Italians heavily and also, my God, push into the West Italy. West Italy always was kind of weak, and some other countries might have interest in a few ports in Italy because there are a lot of port cities in Italy, obviously. So you can see North or East Italy is sweeping through the south now. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but just let them. Yeah, because South Italy started a lot of offensives and is relatively weak. Uh, but we see some resistance from the West Italy because they are actually getting supplied now by a country which is not announced publicly, which makes sense, of course. And yeah, not a lot of happening right here because basically, yeah, okay, they're not all the same strength, but like if you push too far, the other two are gonna clean up on you, you get pushed back, and then the next one pushes too far, the other two work together, pushes them back. So it's an endless circle. So yeah. Um, while this is going on, the Euro country makes a move which a lot of countries think is crazy. Like they expand, so they explore firstly, explore a lot of more land and actually explore these two seas. How did they get there? There were just legends about land over there. And now everyone kind of was expecting that they are going to slowly expand over there. But yeah, they just took it. Um, yeah. Why can I take it? You might ask. Because this country actually, okay, it looks really weird now, but yeah. But in this country, war was held if they should risk losing it, which there is no risk losing it, or just take it instantly. And because of the fear of losing it, which doesn't exist, which the government made kind of up, um, they took it instantly. And they also will expand a lot more into Eastern Europe. And actually, this country might be the biggest in the world now because of this. So they have to slow down a bit now. And first of all, need to build a few cities. Like in the next episode, I will have cities built here, but they're as they're by far not as big as these cities are. And yeah, then also what happens is that they start building trade routes over there, which is crazy because there aren't these cities right now. But yeah, after this, the blue country right here also expands a lot. Like they double their territory, but they just kind of get nothing. And after a few or after many kilometers of nothing being there, they just stop. And yeah, uh, the borders look really ugly, but um, there were a lot of ugly borders throughout history. So yeah, uh, I don't like it either, but shit happens. So you see the military junta expanding again because it's a military junta and they don't care for anyone. And this is seen as a threat to North or monarchist India. And they say, yeah, we stabilized a bit, let's expand again. Which might be a dumb move, but yeah, that they're going to do it. Um, and that Italy has now kind of Italy now that India kind of has a rivalry with South Persia, I called it, I think. Um, uh, that is great news for the South Indian nation because they can align with the government, but um, it's kind of an alliance because of the same enemy, not because of anything else. Because remember, these are communists and want to overthrow the monarchs and dictators. They myself are dictatorship, but nobody cares. Yeah, everyone in the entire world except the few democratic nations that actually exist, like these two over here and this one. Every other nation hates India, so uh, they don't really have the greatest um, popularity. And as you can see, I still don't know what ideology this country is because I say it again. Um, these are social democrats, conservative democrats, monarchs, and communists in one government. So they actually couldn't set up a government right now because there are just too many different ideologies in the country that don't align really well, so they cannot form a government because these are all the people that were tired of the shit over here. So yeah, they expand a lot because they actually get still many immigrants from here because a lot of Democrats are actually still fleeing from here. A lot of monarchists are fleeing from south. A lot of communists are also fleeing there. So the country needs to expand really fast, and they do. And next episode, you will see where they constructed the major cities. But you can see how fast they are expanding because of how much people they're getting. Like, it's just like how India got millions and millions of immigrants and then just continued growing. Yeah, this country expanded a lot without a government. If they will collapse, um, or be invaded by someone, we will see. Or maybe they can set up a government. But yeah, this country, probably the unstablest country in the world because at least these two have a government, I guess. Um, so um, this really annoys me, and this monarch of the dark blue cyan country agrees and wants to attack. Um, so naturally, they do. They attack and seize all the provinces they want to annex really quick. Why are they pushing that far? Because this country is busy oppressing all the people with the military, and um, they just kind of don't have the resources to defend it, so they actually give up relatively quick. Um, yeah, they just die. Yeah, they surrender over to this country, which is a bit concerning for a lot of countries around the area because these five are forbidden to unite, or six actually. Um, so everyone's kind of scared that this country is going on a military conquest again. But yeah, and also the military dictator didn't really care because over up here nothing really valuable is. So he just couldn't afford a war right now. Let's just be real with that. And yay, Italy is Italian civil war again, and the underdog is underdog is pushing. Why is the underdog pushing, you might ask? Because they are getting supplied and they are absolutely crushing it, and they completely fuck over the other two countries. Um, Yeah, and it's actually revealed which countries are supplying the West Italians. Um, all of these three countries support the West Italians. Why, you might ask? Um, the Navy country, because they get ports. The brown and red country um, are supporting the West Italians because uh, they have the most liberal monarch that only wants to unite the Italian peninsula and not expanding further. Uh, and also a bit of royal marriage is also involved in that. Um, so yeah, and these two just fought too much. So yeah, if two fighting, the third guy is the happiest, or some shit like that. And we see West Italy actually crushing them in the end because they were supplied by the three strongest countries in the world. So obviously they're going to win now, and they're going to look at a peace deal right now. And in this peace deal, we can see the unification of Italy, because it's not unified. As you can see, the navy country, a lot more influence. Um, and I forgot to erase the other two capitals. So you might ask yourself, why the the West Italians, which are not just Italians, give up so much territory? Because if you look at the supply help and volunteer help and mercenary help, the blue country actually did like 80% of it, and these two only 10. So, um, yeah, the navy country just wants to show that they're not aggressive and just trading with everyone, but they're just explaining their influence to build up a huge ass army to unite their empire again. So, but these government don't really realize it because these the two strongest countries in the world, well, the first and third strongest country in the world, are happy because this Italy won because of royal marriage and everything. So they actually don't care about the neighbor country right now, and they had the threat from this country. And yes, these two countries work relatively closely together actually, which might not be the most obvious thing, but they actually do. Um, because they both actually have a relatively liberal monarch in charge right now that's treating the people good. Um, and the Red Country, of course, had that since the start, I guess. I think it also was. Um, but the next thing we see is an unexpected invasion in England. We see this Welsh country, I guess, striking into the British territory instantly in the first month, taking these three cities. And this is interesting because, first of all, this England was what's called the Great Scottish Empire, and there's Scotland now, which is kind of dumb that I did it, but I don't care. Um, this British country, or this English country, is strong. They don't have the greatest military or navy, but they have a really good economy and they have good technology. So, um, after 1 month of the invasion, they are starting to strike back because they are hiring a lot of mercenaries. Not from the Navy team, because that's too far away. They are recruiting them from these two countries. Why? Because these two countries, like this great Scottish Empire or England, more than the Welsh country. And it's mercenaries, so mercenaries kind of is the thing to fight for money, so it doesn't really matter where they are from, but still. Um, these two countries do not support the Great Scottish Empire militarily in any way, but diplomatically they would like to see the Great Scottish Empire win. So they are helping the mercenaries to get over to England, and of course that's a big blow to the economy of um, of England, but um, it's only a small stagnation, so the people really don't care, and they just want to see England win, and I cannot find any colors that are somehow different. Oh my god, I'm using the wrong color, bro. Okay, so now we can see the mercenaries pushing this country back easily over the course of 1 year, taking the capital, not even sieging it, taking it, because they are just that experienced, because they were actually the ones fighting down here. Um, and we see the fall of Cornwall. The Scottish hold really strong on to these two cities, and the British or the English cannot really take them for about 2 years after they sieged it. And after 2 years, just like I said, they take the first city down, and after one more year, they take down the other city, and with that, England is actually united because technically all everything that's right here is rightfully English. So yeah, but that's real history. So yeah. So the south of the British island is united once again. Um, now, oops, now these two countries cut, no, not really cut, but take back their support a bit because in the past the navy of the Great Scottish Empire was a threat to these two countries, but these two countries have different things to worry about right now, like yeah, the Navy team and Portugal, which is also relatively close because Portugal still is building more and more ships and or more and more military. And what we also see is the British colonizing again to celebrate the victory and to show that the British islands are still strong. They set up a new colony in Africa. And technically, Britain is now the only nation that colonized and also the only country that colonized twice. So, um, yeah, Britain is strong. I know colonization was not typical in like what are we 400 AD, maybe 300 AD, but the British are going to do it because this is not our history, but it's an alternate history, so I can do whatever the fuck I want. And we see a really big British colony, which is a threat to Morocco, but I don't know the law anymore about the civil war who helped them. But looking at the culture, I think it was these three up here, so um, they cannot really invade them because, first of all, they're by way not as strong as they are, and they definitely don't wanna fuck the entire economy just over this useless piece of desert, so they're not going to do anything. The last thing we see happening is the the pink team expanding to the coast, taking Zanzibar and actually bordering a nation now. And they actually also colonized all of Madagascar. And now this country has one more threat, but yeah, these two kind of want to have a Cold War like war, but they cannot really influence anybody because they are by far not the strongest countries. So yeah. But this was it for today's episode. Hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe, and bye.